Hello, welcome, and sorry. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Maple Bitcoin, your favorite three Canadians in Bitcoin, usually. But we do have a friend, a neighbor from the South. We have Jerry Loves Freedom in the house today. I'm going to give him a little bit of a couple seconds to talk about himself, his channel, and everything. But before we do, I want to give a big shout out here from the Maple Bitcoin. We're missing Forrest today, our third amigo here. Amigo, like that one, Jerry? Our third amigo in the house. And so he had a baby. He didn't have a baby. His wife had a baby. And so big shout out, big cheers to Forrest. And we saw a picture of Forrest's new baby girl. And he said that they have the same eyes. She has her father's eyes.
Oh yeah, that's sick. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. That was good. I saw the picture too.
Nice.
So big congrats to Forrest and his wife and their new baby girl. Cheers. And Forrest, we'll be back next week. But in the meantime, we got pretty good company here. So we got Jerry Loves Freedom. Rajat and I spent some time in Vegas last week at the Bitcoin conference. We ran into Jerry several times. He was nice enough to chauffeur me and show me around the Sin City. So Jerry, he's got a guest spot on the show today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your journey into Bitcoin, and a little bit about your channel, because it is kind of unique.
Yes. Who's the new guy? My name is Jerry. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. I started in Bitcoin in February 2021, late February 24th. I was into precious metals in the beginning. In the summer of 2020, when the pandemic, I'll say, on this channel started. I call it something else on my channel. And I found out pretty quickly that the money was broken, and I thought precious metals was the way. And I dove in and I learned a lot of stuff. And then every once in a while, you know how the algorithms go, that you start seeing, stuff about cryptos and stuff like that. So I started deep diving into cryptos. And then I finally bought, about 7 months later after I bought precious metals, and I started buying some cryptos. And it took me about 2 months to realize that there is no second best. So I sold my cryptos, put it in all the Bitcoin, and then a couple of years later, I decided to trade in all my precious metals, because there is only one way to save. And I think, and you guys know what that is. So I put it all into that. And then I started making just full blown Bitcoin content. And I do a live show Monday through Friday, and I give away Satoshis. And there was a Bitcoin conference, and these two were walking down the street looking like homeless men. So I picked them up. No, we all hung out. We had a good time. It was crazy to have Jor in my front seat, hanging out with him, and then I had Rajat behind me in the back seat. I listen to these guys all the time, and Rajat was in my back seat talking, and I was just like, something sounds weird, because I hear him all the time, but it wasn't. It wasn't surround sound. He was just behind my head, and I was like, wow, Rajat's in my car.
And at one point, he tried to turn the volume up, and it didn't work.
It didn't work. But we had a good time. We went to Steak and Shake, and we did a lot of good things. So we had some good chemistry, and here we are.
We met David Bailey at Steak and Shake. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's the guy who organizes the conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a blast. Big shout out to Jerry for looking after us in Vegas.
Yes.
And no, it was good. And I just wanted to piggyback off what Jerry was talking about there. I think that, as mentioned, Jerry has a very unique channel in the sense that he does a daily live stream, which I'm pretty familiar with myself. And it's not easy to do. And the cool thing about Jerry's show is he actually gives away sats every time there's a new block that comes in on the mempool, which is kind of cool. So it's 100 sats. I think some days it's 200 sats. And there's a lot of people that show up there. I think I called it something like a very fun and welcoming environment for Bitcoiners. And I think that it's been growing. It's started with 10 or 15 people in there, and then 20, 30. Now that's usually 40 people in there. So Jerry, you've been doing some great, consistent work. And I love your takes on most things today. We argue about a couple of things, but it's
Yeah.
very few and far between. So great to have Jerry on the channel today.
Thank you. Can I
just
say
as a
something real
reminder,
quick?
yep,
Real quick.
of course.
It's not some days that I do different amounts of Satoshis. It's only one day, and that's today.
Fat
It's
Zap
fat.
Friday.
It is Fat Zap Friday today. So my show starts at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I might have to pull it back today. I don't know. Push it back. I don't know. But today
We'll
is
see.
Fat Zap Friday. I give double out today.
Ooh.
It's just a really, like, I call it fun and welcoming. It is. It's a great place to just go hang out with other Bitcoiners. There's a lot of good conversation there. Jerry covers some great topics. So make sure, if you're not yet, you search Jerry Loves Freedom. I'll find his channel here quickly while I'm yapping. But just like usual here, we're going to start out with a couple different topics around Bitcoin, and then we'll get to some questions from the chat. So if you do have any questions that you would like to be discussed, you can. That's the wrong one. You can put them in caps. That's the easiest way for us to see it. And if they have some urgency, if you have some priority, just like the mempool, you can actually send a boost or a super chat or a what's that thing called? A zap right beside Jerry's head there. So big shout out to everybody. We had a couple weeks off here, but the donations have still been pouring in here. So the cool thing about the zaps is you can actually attach a little message to it, a note. So if you have a question, if you have a comment you want us to read, you can send it to the QR code right beside Jerry's head there. So boys, pretty crazy week. Do you guys want to maybe let's just start with some Vegas talk. Let's let people show up into the chat. Let's maybe share our favorite part about the Vegas conference, whether or not we'll go back next year to Vegas, and kind of the main takeaway from you guys. Jerry, as the guest, I kind of sewered you on that video and Shake and Steak too, or Steak and Shake. You might as well kick this one off as well.
Sure. I had a great time, and we're already doing a countdown for 2026. So I'll be there. And it's, again, a lot of people have complained and different, they've said different things about the conference or whatever. But the thing is, it's not about the conference; it's about the people. And the people, the most fun I had was actually outside of the conference. Like me, Rajat, and George just walking down Fremont Street, going to Steak and Shake, doing different things and hanging out with people, like-minded people like us. It's very hard to be around or find people like ourselves. You know what I mean? So again, you guys see people on the internet that you watch and everything else, and you get all the content in, and then next thing you know, they're all around the street, and then they're in the conference and everything. So it's great, and I had a great time. I told this on my channel. This conference was top 10 in my life, top 10 moments in my life. That's how much fun I had, and it's one thing like to see like a movie star or something, because I live in Las Vegas, so I see these people all the time, to be honest, and it doesn't even really mean anything to me. It meant more to me to see Jordan Rajat than it would to see some basketball player or some idiot athlete or something, or actor or something like that. So again, it's really, really fun. I highly suggest you go. I'm not saying to buy a ticket or anything like that, because again, there's been some whatever kind of feedback about it, but I would definitely book a ticket to Las Vegas and come on down and let's tear up the town in 2026.
Yeah,
Rajat, how about you?
completely agree. It was more about the people than anything. Building those relationships, just seeing people come up to me and just having them greet me and say that they want to talk to me. It was crazy. I wasn't expecting it. Right. It was, it really makes you think about how far we've come as creators. It makes you think about how we've shared this knowledge with so many people. I was making a video just recently where I was referring back to one of my older videos. I started posting on YouTube when Bitcoin was like 40K, 50K or something like that. And people who followed that content, people who followed that, I guess, that guidance, they were coming up to us, and they were, well, all of us actually, all of us were getting people coming up to us, but they were coming up to us and they were saying how we changed their lives. And that was just crazy. That to me, it just felt like this is what I'm doing it for. Because the job that I was doing before, I mean, you don't really see too many CFA charter holders at a Bitcoin conference, and I was one of them. And I had gotten investigated by the CFA Institute, so I thought it was pretty interesting that the impact that I'm having now, when people are reporting me to the CFA Institute, is much bigger and more positive than the impact that I was having before when I was working at TD Asset Management.
Yep. Completely agree with that. Every single word. I kind of went through the same thing. I didn't really have anybody report me as a CPA because I had retired my letters before they could. So I just, once I got out of there, I'm like, in Bitcoin, I'm never going back. And I have a feeling that Rajat's probably not going back to CFA land anytime soon either.
No, not at all.
And Rajat's being very, very modest right now when he says only a few people walked up to him. I had to play. I had to play security guard and bodyguard for Rajat and Jor. Let's just say that.
It was pretty cool.
It was cool.
You know, it's
very interesting.
And Jerry's saying the same thing too. Like there was also a lot of people who came up and shook Jerry's hand, and he was a recognized face around the city. I mean, he's been on the streets though, and he's been boots on the ground for the last couple of years, trying to get people to pay attention to what's really happening there. So from his YouTube, from just being around Vegas, Jerry also had a lot of fans there. It was cool. Like, I mean, I've never experienced anything like that in my life. I didn't take it too seriously because we're just people, right? And that's the people coming up to us, like Vake here. I met Vake at the Brazilian Steakhouse on Tuesday night, I believe it was, or maybe Monday night. I don't know when it was, but yeah, it's cool. You can actually put faces to profile pictures like this. That's a cool thing for me, and that's probably the theme here between all three of us is like, it is different, but my main takeaway from it and kind of what the realization that I had is that I had guys like Jerry, Rajat, both guys who I've started channels with, both guys who, in a way that's starting a business with, who I had never met before. And then with Bitcoin Citadel, we had Daniel and Craig and Bodie and more people there that I'm actually business partners with that I had never met in person before. And I think that that's just a trend that's going to continue. We're no longer limited to our local area and people who we can connect with and people who we can start businesses with and who we can build things with. We're no longer limited to our geographical area anymore. You can find somebody on any part of the planet now and start something and building with them. And then eventually when you do meet them in person, it's just so much more of a special experience with that. So it is cool. It's cool to see the profile pictures come to life. It's cool to hang out with these guys driving around Vegas and walking down Fremont Street. It was an awesome experience. And even though it was very expensive as a Canadian in Vegas, it was worth every single penny there. So I would suggest, if you've been kind of on the fence of thinking about going to, whether it's the Bitcoin conference or not, just a local meetup. There's a lot of smaller meetups around Canada all year long and in the US. So just go there. You cannot replicate the feeling of being face to face with another Bitcoiner, because it doesn't matter what your interests are. You have the foundation there, which is Bitcoin, that you can go from there.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that people might be surprised to hear was that meeting. I met Jor for the first. Of course, I met Jerry for the first time as well, but I met Jor for the first time, and we started a business together without even really meeting. And I think that shows you the power of Bitcoin. We both just started talking about something. Jerry started talking about Bitcoin. We all met there, and we all had great chemistry. And today we're having a podcast. Like, think about it. If it weren't for Bitcoin, I never would have met either of you guys, right? I never would have met all the people in the audience, people who came up to us, people who came and shook our hands. We never would have met them, right? I feel like I was miserable at my job, and life is so much better now because of Bitcoin. Just not even the financial side of things, but the network, the people we met. Even if Bitcoin fails today, think about it. We know that it wasn't either of us trying to scam anyone. We know that it happened, and it wasn't something that we knew about. It's completely out of our view. And I'm sure if Bitcoin fails, we can continue to build something. And that's completely separate from everything that we've done in the past.
Absolutely, Rajat. Well said. And I want to build on the network effect you just said. And I talked about this, on a small scale, and I think 2026 is going to be even bigger than 2025, because it was 35,000 or something like that, Rajat. You got the numbers.
It was like 30,000 this year.
Yeah, something like that. And to see, because a lot of Bitcoiners were concentrated around the Fremont area, Steak and Shake and stuff like that. And I remember going to the Steak and Shake late at night, and the whole line was filled with 90+% of Bitcoiners. And to hear people talking about blockchains and all these things going on, all the Bitcoin talk that we talk out in public, not in trying to hide it and put your headphones on, or being a little Bitcoin nerd or whatever, just being out here in the streets, seeing people talking about inflation and money printing and all over the place. Again, not in the conference. I'm talking about out on the streets. I mean, to me, I had to stop and I almost had to pinch myself, and I'm standing in line, and as I'm going up in the line to pay for a good with Satoshis, which is, again, mind blowing. I'm hearing all this stuff around me and just being surrounded by it. I was saying to myself, I'm in the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. And when you're working a job and stuff like that, like Rajat and Jor was saying, and you're in those fiat fiat in that fiat world around the fiat people, it gets lonely. But when you're thinking outside outside the box, and we're kind of like the black sheep or whatever, but to have all the black sheep coming down in one area and all being together, and that you're not scamming anybody. Like you said, it's not I'm not going to call out another coin, but one of those coins, because there was another conference that was there, the next Bitcoin, Joe, remember that? And
Texas coin.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, wow, man, we're doing the right thing. And I wake up every single day motivated and just like being a part of something that's way bigger than myself. And it ain't about me making money or anything like that. I'm literally trying to change the world. And that's what we're all doing. And everybody in the conference, including you guys, you're not just trying to get rich. We're all trying to change the world. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful feeling to be around people like that.
Yeah, just getting people to stack this thing, and just on the topic, right? Stay focused and stack Bitcoin. That's all you have to do. And a lot of people may be thinking, oh, you can't buy enough, you can't get enough. I have too little money. I have this, I have that. I don't have enough money. That'll, of course, make a difference in your life. And then you'll be able to meet with people in person. You'll be able to make connections that you may not otherwise be able to make. I think that it all compounds and it all builds. And we actually had a guy there. What was his name? Kevin, I think it was.
Yep.
Who we talked to about creating his own content. And that's how it compounds. It's a mind virus. It's going to change everything. People are learning about this. People are trying to teach their families about this. We're finally in a spot where we no longer have to be slaves to the financial system. It changes everything. Everything is now flipped around. The Bitcoiners have more power than the people at the top.
Yep. And I was thinking about the same thing on the way home last night from golf league, and I was like, yeah, just with the whole Trump and Elon thing, and I think we're going to probably get to that next, as just kind of like without getting too political, like what kind of impact it has on Bitcoin. But I was listening to Jerry's show on the way home last night, and I was thinking, like, what if I do end up being wrong about this? What if they've run the best brainwashing campaign of all in Bitcoin, and I'm one of the people who fell for it? Like, where would I go from there? And my first thought was like, so what? Right? Because I know, and there's probably not a lot of people in different industries who could say, so what, in the sense of their heart was in the right place. Even if it failed, it doesn't really matter to them. And I know for a fact, especially within some of the financial industries, I know that a lot of people cannot say the same, in the sense of their heart isn't in the right place. They're thinking for money. They're thinking for status. They're thinking for different things. But I know between the three of us and more people we met along the way, our hearts are in the right place. So even if something were to happen, if we end up being wrong about Bitcoin, everything goes to zero, I would die knowing that I did everything that I could for what I believed in. And I think that at the end of it, that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
So on that note, of Trump and Elon, I saw a comment here, which was, I missed it. I had a good segment here. Anyways, let's maybe just talk about that quickly in terms of Trump, Elon impact on Bitcoin. Rajat mentioned stay focused because it is. That's kind of what it seems like to me. It seems like a distraction. Jack Mahler shared a really good meme of two people fighting, and it said Trump and Elon, and then the Bitcoiner there with a bong, just like whatever, like who cares? But like, what do you guys think about the impact, I guess, on Bitcoin? What is it? What is this little feud, whether it's real or staged? What does it mean to you, and what does it mean to Bitcoin?
It's just fear, right? People are just scared. They're worried that something's going to happen. They're worried that there's a disagreement. As long as the only thing that you need to really focus on, I think, is the certainty of the supply of Bitcoin. If that's not affected, then it doesn't matter what happens in politics. If the politicians, if the prime minister, if the president can't change the supply of Bitcoin, you should keep stacking. It makes no difference to you if you hear this on the news, but it will hurt you if you stop stacking because you heard it on the news. And I think that's the worst thing you can do. If you're not stacking, if you're not staying focused and stacking Bitcoin relentlessly, that's the worst decision you're going to make. You're going to regret it in a few years. You're going to, I mean, the fear should not stop you because over time, the trend is always going to be up. While they're scaring you, they're buying as much Bitcoin as they can. MicroStrategy's bought like 300,000 Bitcoin in the last year, maybe 400,000 in the last year. And you're worried about Elon Musk and Donald Trump having a fight on Twitter? Make the right decision.
Yeah, it looks like they're making up too. Do you guys see that
Yeah.
today? So hopefully they do. But yeah, I'm more of a political guy. I like politics and Bitcoin. But when it happened yesterday, I just bought a big amount for myself when it dipped down. I was trying to see if it was going to go under 100. Remember, it was like touching 100, and I made a pretty big purchase, and I'm a little bit behind on my on my bills a little bit. But I smash bought, and I dove right in, and it is good to stay focused, of course, on the big picture, because again, there's a lot of distractions out here, and as a Bitcoiner, it's almost like we're living in the matrix, but we're outside of it, and we can see, all the noise and stuff when everybody's falling for it, and we're just like, yeah, but come on over here, let me show you something, because again, I just tell people get to 1,000,000 sats, put it in cold storage, and get to your 100 hours and study. You know what I mean? And just stay focused. Get as many of these things as you can, man. I just still can't believe we're getting 900 something Satoshis for $1. I wake up every day pinching myself. That's just a steal, in my opinion. So just stay focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think for me the main takeaway from the little argument we have going on between Trump and Elon, or what it was before, anyways, is it just shows that Bitcoin doesn't really care. Like, I mean, the price dropped a little bit, but it didn't drop 25% like Tesla stock did. And I think whether you're talking about Elon Musk, Michael Saylor, Tim Apple, or Tim Cook, or whatever Trump calls him, Tim Apple, they're the risk that a lot of these companies have is the centralization, the fact that there is the risk of them having a CEO, and that CEO could be involved in a scandal. They could get into an argument with the sitting president of the United States. They could die. They could get into a car crash or a plane crash. That has a huge impact on the stock price, as we saw yesterday. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of their wealth stored in some of these assets. And it was actually a Maple Bitcoin video that we did a couple months, maybe it was a month ago now, with Forrest, Rajat, and myself, where we did an asset tier list. And we put gold ahead of Tesla. And people were giving a shit all over the comments. They're like, what's wrong with you guys? Tesla's outperformed gold by 100x in the last whatever, And the reason why we put Tesla or gold ahead of Tesla and Bitcoin ahead of gold, for obvious reasons, but we put gold ahead of Tesla, is because of the risks involved. Gold doesn't have a CEO. You can actually take custody of your gold coin. You don't really own it like you own Bitcoin, but you can still take custody of your gold. And so that's kind of what we were getting at. And it turned out to be true, because gold, there's nothing that could happen to gold where it would cause a crash of 25% in one day based on gold getting in a fight with silver or something like that, or Bitcoin getting in a fight with Ethereum. Like, these are the risks that are taken away when you store your wealth in an asset like gold or Bitcoin, preferably Bitcoin. But that's kind of the point that we were trying to make. And I think that, it aged pretty well. Oh, sorry, Rajat. I didn't see your screen here.
No worries. I just brought this up while you were talking about it. So people were talking about Tesla versus Bitcoin here. We could see. No offense, but I'm glad you're not investing my money. Tesla will outperform Bitcoin in 5 years. That's not the point. The point of Bitcoin isn't to outperform Tesla. The point of Bitcoin is to save. Tesla is an investment. Tesla is a way for you to invest for the future, to multiply your cash. But Bitcoin is a savings account. Right now, we're being sold the future form of money for the current money. The current money doesn't work anymore. It's garbage. People are already figuring it out. But you're able to get Bitcoin, which is money that you can take full self-custody of. You can't do that with Tesla. You can't do that with any other asset, pretty much. And Tesla is already underperforming Bitcoin. It's already below Bitcoin. Tesla's been around for what, 25 years now? 20 years maybe? Probably before the before it went public, right?
Yeah, I would
And
say
Bitcoin's
so.
Bitcoin's only been around for what, 15 years, 16 years, and it's already increased in market cap past Tesla. And there's a reason for that. It's going to keep going. It's going to be worth 10 Teslas. Then it's going to be worth 100 Teslas. It's going to keep rising and rising because Tesla's one company out of thousands, tens of thousands around the world. Bitcoin is the only one.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of risks. Like this, the CEO is the prominent one that we're talking about today. But of course, you have supply chain risks. You have competitors. You have. I think that over these next couple of years, this is kind of my thesis on things: is people are going to really realize the difference between a real asset like Bitcoin and a fake asset like pretty much everything else. Because as technology improves, as AI improves, as we get better and better and more efficient at producing things, they don't mean anything. This world is going to be abundant of anything that you could ever imagine. But we need Bitcoin as the scarce foundation that's going to measure everything like that, because that's where we're headed. We're going to live in a world in I don't know, 5-10 years. It's already happening today where you can literally 3D print a house. You can 3D print anything from your own. I mean, you can't do a house from your basement, but like that's kind of the world that we're moving into. You're going to be able to have whatever you want to. And so in a world like that, you need a scarce asset, a truly, absolutely scarce asset like Bitcoin. Otherwise, it would just be a zoo. So thank God for Bitcoin, I guess, in that sense. But
yeah.
Any last comments on Trump Elon?
Stay focused.
Cool. That's it.
So where should we go from here? Kind of the plan today, I think, is we're actually going to bring up a tweet from Rajat. And Jerry and I are both historically, how would you call it? We speak to the average people, right? We're not the British hodls of the world. We speak to the average people, and we know what the average people have in their house, in their possession. Even if they don't have $10,000 in their bank account or in their stock portfolio, they have stuff around their house, right? And so that's kind of one of the things we've been preaching for a while now is there's absolutely zero excuses for somebody to own 0 sats today. Just take a look around your house. Even if you trade $50 Nintendo for 50,000 sats, like that's something that every single person could do. And it was Rajat actually that shared a tweet today that we wanted to talk about here. So let's see it.
And this is actually something that I thought of because of Jor. I watch you saying it regularly. Sell your jackets for Bitcoin. Sell whatever you don't need for Bitcoin, right? And today I was going to the gym, and I know there's a vintage shop that's right next to the gym. So I just grabbed all the clothes that I had in my closet that I wasn't wearing for a while. I just threw them in my trunk, and I went to the vintage shop. So they take some time to actually assess your clothes and tell you how much they're going to give you. So in the meantime, I went to the gym, right? So it was literally 5 minutes of my life, and I didn't really have to do anything. I got $29.40 for it. It was for clothes that I wasn't going to wear. They were just sitting in my closet. I had no use for them, and I bought 20,000 sats with it. It might not seem like a lot. A lot of people, like there was a guy who commented, what did he say? He said, this is not worth your time. Let me just show you the comment here. Oh, here. You must be really hurting financially to go through the effort of selling clothes for $30. So you value your time at less than $30 an hour. Like I said, it took 5 minutes. So I got $30 for 5 minutes. So you multiply that by 12. What is that? $240 an hour, which is pretty great. Or no,
Rajat, hold on.
No.
is it more?
Yeah. Talk about your setting your own salary and apply it to that.
Yes. So let's say so they said if I'm making this much money, then this is not worth my time. But the way that I see it, I mean, there are two things that I can say. So number one, why do I waste these clothes? They're just sitting in my closet. I have no use for them. Do I throw them in the garbage? Why not try to make the earth a better place? If that's, I mean, I plan to live for the next 100 years, so I want the earth to be better. I want to not waste water, not waste materials. So nothing. I'm doing nothing with those clothes. They're just sitting there. Somebody might be able to go there, get the jeans that I sold, and wear them to an interview. Go to a job. Who knows? Maybe they'll be able to get those jeans. Like these jeans are $100. They're Levi's, but I had no use for them. They can buy them for $20, $25 now, basically brand new, right? And now I get value out of it. They get value out of it. So let's say, for example, if back to what Jor you were saying, if I wait to spend this, I'm not planning to spend this right now. Right now, it took me 5 minutes. I got $29.40 from it. Eventually, this is going to be worth $50, then 100, then 200, 500, 1,000. So at that point, it's almost like thinking I'm getting paid $1,000 for 5 minutes of work that I did back then. It's me putting my time into Bitcoin and using my energy to actually convert it into the best form of money in the world.
Yeah, when you're doing this, when you're living in Bitcoin, when you're measuring things in Bitcoin, and you're converting your time and energy into Bitcoin, like Rajat did. He had some energy in his house, some clothes that somebody else made, converted that to Bitcoin, and then it doesn't matter when you earn it; it matters when you spend it. That's when you set your salary. So Rajat takes those 20,000 sats, puts it into a wallet. Maybe he waits 20 years. Maybe those sats are worth $1 per sat. Maybe he just made $20,000 worth of purchasing power in 5 minutes. What's your hourly rate on that? Whoever left that comment there, like that's how you have to be thinking about this stuff, right? It would be different if Rajat took that $20 and went and bought a case of beer with it. Then it's, arguably I would still spend $5 to do that. And like Rajat said, make the planet a better place. But it's a little bit different than looking at it in the future where those sats could be worth $20,000 of purchasing power when he spends them, not when you earn it, but when you actually part with those sats.
Yeah, exactly. And me and Joe are on the same page with this. We look at sats like dollars, man. But honestly, the only reason we do that is because that's the measuring stick that we use is dollars. But to me, it's not even close. Like Satoshis are way more rare and more worth more to me in the future. Like George said, when you spend them, than the purchasing power than dollars, because there's only a finite amount. If you guys seen the Coinbase commercial, I show that on my channel all the time. When you see the amount of dollars that they print, not on a weekly or a monthly, but a daily basis, and you see the finiteness of Satoshis. And again, it's not about the Bitcoin. It's about, because Bitcoin to me is just like the marketing name. It's all about the Satoshis. And you see that. I just looked at that and that just made me so happy for Rajat, because he just got an incredible amount of wealth for nothing, for something that was just laying around the house. I am currently on my journey to be a minimalist right now. And I'm trying to get rid of everything that is not nailed to the floor, like Rajat said, that is just getting in the way and we don't need, right? Because if you really look and you really understand and you know what Satoshis are and what they're going to be in the future, they're the most finite pieces of digital money or any kind of money we've ever seen in human history, and no one knows about this. Almost 95% of the Bitcoin has been mined, and over 95% of the people don't know what it is. So take every single thing that you have in your house and really take a look at it. I mean, really take a look at it and say, do I need this? Am I using this? How many Satoshis can I get? And like George said, buy your time back. And in the future, your purchasing power is going to be unbelievable.
And then there's also the other side of things where people are probably thinking, oh, these guys aren't buying their Bitcoin. They're telling us about Bitcoin because they need exit liquidity. No, we're still buying. we're still buying. We're not going to stop.
Every day.
We're not going to exactly. We're not going to stop buying just because the price is higher. If we have the way that all of us see it is, if we have extra fiat, we're going to convert it into Bitcoin. That's simply it. It's as easy as that. There's nothing else. There's no real plan here. If we have extra fiat, we put it in Bitcoin. That's it. And then we plan to hold it. Well, there is a plan. We hold it for 4 years, but it's not like if after 4 years, if Bitcoin's price is up, it's not like we're going to sell. It's still our savings account. It's just that our purchasing power has increased massively. And now we have more freedom. We can do the things that we want to. We can think about how our future will look with this Bitcoin, how Bitcoin will look. So somebody asked here, then who's selling? It's people who have held for, let's say 20, or sorry, not 20 years, 15, 16, 14, 13 years. People who bought at $1, $2. If they bought 1,000 Bitcoin at $1 each, they now have $100 million worth of wealth. If they sell 1,000 Bitcoin, it doesn't affect them. They still have $99 million worth of wealth. So to them, it doesn't matter. The important thing here is don't worry about what the price does. Stop worrying about who's selling. Exactly, like Letha said, who needs 2 kidneys? Sell one. Get rid of one. You don't need it. And then buy it back later. At some point, you'll be able to buy 30 kidneys with your Bitcoin. Right? And the point here is just don't think about the price. The price is just one metric out of many. The price over time is going up, but in the short term, it'll be volatile. For all we know, in the short term, we could see a 50% drop. For all we know, in the short term, we could see an 80% drop. But over the long term, that's all that matters. If over the long term, your purchasing power is going up in terms of Bitcoin, then you win.
Yeah. And I mean, Rajat nailed it there. He said, you're measuring it in one way to measuring things. And I think even that system is completely shattered in terms of people still measuring things in fiat. Because how do you measure something if in that case, when you're measuring things in US dollars, that the US dollar is the bottom part of that equation there. And we really have no idea how many dollars exist, both physically, digitally. I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but there was a month in about the year 2001. It was the 9th month of the year, September 2001. There was something that happened there that really shook the world. And 2 days before that happened, or 1 day before that happened, the Pentagon announced that they just were missing $2.3 trillion dollars. So the numbers that they give us are complete BS, for one. And even if they were somewhat accurate with their valuations on it, we still have no idea. So you can't measure anything against something that you have no idea how much supply there is. In this case, US dollars. In Bitcoin, you can go to a website this second and you can see exactly how many sats are in circulation right now. And the nice thing about that is many of them are lost. Many of them will never be moved again, which makes that supply even less. So it's not like it can be overstated. If anything, the supply is actually understated.
Exactly. And when you have a broken measuring stick like the fiat dollars, it's very hard to measure things, especially when you're going in and out of stores and buying things with, fiat broken money for goods and services. But with Satoshis, again, I measure my net worth with Satoshis. Period. End of story. Wherever I have my quote unquote Bitcoin stored, whether it's on Sparrow or on my Speed wallet or whatever, I always set to Satoshis, right? And I measure my net worth against the hardest, most finite units of money in the world, period. And that just makes me so happy. I feel like this is like a cheat code, man, right? I feel like,
Jerry, could you just repeat that again? Because I think that is such great advice for Bitcoiners of all levels. Like, just go through that process again of changing your mindset by what you look at.
sure. As far as like changing the
units.
Yeah. So when everybody has either a Sparrow wallet or whatever they have their Bitcoin on, whether it's a hot wallet, cold storage, even your exchange that you have it on for now. Don't set it to Bitcoin. Don't set it to the B0.00 stuff. Always set it to Satoshis. Right? And why do you do that? Well, it just changes your whole mindset, right? Because when you look at a Bitcoin, you just, I got a fraction of this and it's only 0.00 or whatever. Because again, a Bitcoin is an arbitrary number. It's 100 million Satoshis or whatever. I measure my net worth with Satoshis. So when I look at my Speed wallet and I look and I go to Steak and Shake and I spend 13,000 Satoshis or whatever for a burger and some fries and a drink or whatever, I look at that like, wow, this is the equivalent of me one day buying 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. Because in the future, 20 years from now, people are going to say, you paid 14,000 Satoshis for a burger, fries, and a shake? Because 14,000 Satoshis is going to be somebody's, dare I say, yearly salary or monthly salary or whatever, whatever year it is.
Monthly, then yearly.
Yes. Right. So you got to look at your net worth in Satoshis, man. Period. I mean, again, it is so crazy to me. We're talking about we're still buying and stuff. I buy quite often. You guys know how much I buy, Jor. And I buy quite often. And I smash buy and I buy, my DCAs and stuff. And I'm looking at this thing like every time I'm buying this and I'm putting it away, I'm getting a piece of the most finite pie in the world. And nobody knows about it. So it's my job, our job, to learn this thing, understand what it is, and teach other people. Again, if you have friends and family that don't have Satoshis, you got to help them. Now, you can't do the work for them, but you got to help them either put a little bit away for them, send them. Again, Speed Wallet to me is the best, quote unquote, orange pill wallet there is out there. I love the Speed Wallet. Absolutely love it. And you can earn free sats for doing it. And Jor always talks about getting that name as an email, which would be more important than an email in the future. So again, long story short, it is the most finite money in the world, and make sure you set it to Satoshis and measure your net worth in Satoshis. Forget the dollar. Say, oh, it's worth 10,000. It's worth that. Don't even measure it with dollars, man. Just look at the Satoshis and your purchasing power in the future.
Yep, great advice. And just following up what Jerry said there, the reason I said that is because I think that lightning addresses are going to do to sending money around the world to what email did to communications. Like the email protocol itself allowed anybody on earth to communicate with each other. And the Lightning network now built on top of the Bitcoin network, if you have a Lightning address, you can send money to any single person on the planet with an internet connection. That is so incredibly powerful. But kind of what I was saying there is like, you can use something like Speed, you can use Koinos, you can use Wallet of Satoshi. There's several different apps that we recommend people use, but just go there today. And even if you have no intention on using it right away, go and get your username, because just like an email, it's so important to have something that's short, concise, doesn't have a bunch of numbers in it, doesn't have an underline and an exclamation mark in it, because this is how you're going to receive money in the future. And so if you're looking for sats, if you sell something or you did a job for somebody, you could just say, yeah, my address is rajat@speed.app instead of Rajat_323, blue sky. Like that's where we are in email right now, because there's none left. There's no usernames left in email. And we're going to get to that same point in Lightning addresses one day. And so I think before everybody figures that out, you should claim yourself a couple different options for your Speed app. So I just posted a video about that yesterday on my channel. So go check that out. Actually, so I posted that and I was like, leave a comment below and I'll send you some sats. And stupid me, there was like 300 people who commented on there. I'm going to be there for a full day giving away a bunch of sats because of that. So if you want some free sats, I guess go watch that video if I posted on my channel yesterday. But
I was one of them.
So anyways, I got one more thing I wanted to talk about here, boys, because there was a good comment here that I saw kind of tying what we've been talking about here. So 3 cents said, don't forget those clothes in your closet would cost $20 or less in a year. So get even less sats. Honestly, that's exactly how you should be looking at this, because the longer you wait to sell that jacket, to sell that Nintendo, to sell that rookie card, the less sats you're going to get. So today is like the most sats you'll ever get for that item. It's going to, just like everything else in the world, is going to continue to trend towards zero against Bitcoin, which means the longer you wait, the less sats you're going to get for those items. So don't sleep on this. Don't procrastinate. Make this a priority. You're not only going to get some sats, but you're also going to free up some space in your house and probably in your mind. Less clutter, the better. As Jerry talked about, Daniel made a comment about it as well, the minimalism. It just makes sense.
Have you guys thought of this? Actually, I was just thinking about this while you were talking about this. So, if you let's say you buy, let's say you think Michael Jordan is going to be a really great player, and you get a rookie card of his, you sell it, and then when he retires, you buy it back, and you buy Bitcoin with the
Ooh.
proceeds from the sale. Do you think that would outperform Bitcoin?
The increase in value of the card?
Yeah.
It really depends because I think that if you look at an athlete like Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Tiger Woods, there might be 5 people in history that might outperform Bitcoin, but there's 5 million other athletes who won't even come
Oh,
close. It'll
true.
probably go
Yeah.
down over time. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like picking altcoins. Like there's going to be a ton of them. Maybe 4 or 5 might actually succeed. I doubt any of them will outperform Bitcoin over the long term, but it's the same kind of thing. The rest will fail. And that's why Bitcoin is the best place to store your value in that sense. And the other thing too, there, I've thought about this myself, Rajat, because if you look at something like Michael Jordan, let's say that you're really bullish on Michael Jordan. You saw this kid come out of college. He had the best career. Nobody was really looking at him very much, but you had this feeling that he was going to be the best of all time, the best player of all time. So you buy his card. It shoots up in value after a couple of years. He's the rookie of the year. He's doing all the right things. But then he breaks his knee.
Oh, it's
There's
over.
all of your time and energy, your wealth, everything that you've, put into that card is gone because an athlete, one person, just like Elon Musk in this case, it'd be the exact same kind of thing because they injured themselves. That screwed your portfolio over because of that. And Bitcoin doesn't have any knees to break. There's no injuries in Bitcoin. It's the place you want to store things. And, you could probably buy 10 Michael Jordan cards if you save in Bitcoin instead.
That's a really good question, Rajat. And I'm on board with that, what you said. Once you understand Bitcoin, it's just like, there is no second best, period. Not even just for the cryptocurrencies, just period. And I wouldn't even waste my time. That is a good question, though, Rajat, because I used to have basketball cards and stuff like that. So that hit me with that. But, when you're in the investing game and the art and all this other stuff, it's like, man, finding Bitcoin has just made life so easy for me, Rajat. I don't invest anymore. I don't think about doing this or doing that. I just go out here, try to create as much value as I can, spend the least amount as I can, and put the rest into Bitcoin. But that was a good question, though.
I feel like it'd be fun to see that over time, see what the results look like. I feel like this.
Well, you
Feel
could
like
do it, Rajat. You could do it with, I think the closest thing would be like Connor McDavid right now.
Connor. I
Like
have a
I bought
Patrick
about
Kane rookie card.
a who?
A Patrick Kane.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
sell those.
Patrick, he won't be like, he won't be in the handful of guys that are really worth something. It'll be valuable. It
It's
probably will
failed.
increase over time.
Yeah. So it's a failed investment. Should have just bought Bitcoin.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it that way too, like kind of what I'm talking about with the broken knees and stuff, like in that sense, like Pokemon cards would be more valuable than a sports card or less risky, I guess you should say, because
Right.
Pikachu's not really getting into real life fights. Like
Oh, that's true.
Pikachu's not going to get injured. So, the risk of injury is gone there.
Yeah. So it's like basically any collectible. I think Bitcoin would outperform because if you think about it, any collectible, if you have it, it has to rise at a price of 50% in price by 50% per year.
Yep.
And I don't think that's happening with anything.
No.
That would be a good experiment for people to go out there and look at the collectibles and see.
Yeah, you could
Like the
compare
high
quite easily.
collectibles, yeah. But there's not many, Rajat, I don't think,
Yeah.
if I had to guess.
So I guess
Look
that
at
just goes back to our title there. Stay focused and stack Bitcoin. Don't stack rookie cards. Don't stack Pokemon cards. Don't stack collectibles. Just buy Bitcoin.
I think the only thing that I would buy instead of Bitcoin in terms of collectibles would be Hunter Biden's artwork.
Why?
I don't know. It's really good from what I've heard. I guess he's made a lot of money on it. So yeah, Hunter Biden's a real stand-up guy, great artist. I mean, how could you go wrong with that?
Is it like a money laundering scheme or something?
I feel like most art is a money laundering scheme. Book deals, art, collectibles, that kind of stuff. Art for sure, though, because art is very subjective, right? You can't really say that it is worth this or it's not worth this. It's basically what somebody's willing to pay for it. And I guess in a sense of, that's the free market overall, but art is different because it's very subjective. They hide a lot of donations and do a lot of the laundering stuff with art. And I think Hunter Biden would probably be the top of that list.
Yeah.
Of launderers. But with that, it's probably going to go up in value. So anyways, Travel with Poppy says, met Rajat at the gym today. Super cool, brother. Looking forward to our next one-on-one session. Keep up the great work. Oh, sorry. Looking forward to our one-on-one session.
Yeah, that was so cool. I feel like so when obviously you meet people at the conference and it's like, okay, all these people know Bitcoin, but just meeting somebody in the wild like that, damn, that's pretty crazy.
That is
Rajat,
cool.
Rajat, you do have one of those faces, though, man.
Oh, I think it's because I'm bald.
Let me say this about Rajat and Jor. They are the exact same way you see them on camera, man. I told Rajat, you know what I said to you, Rajat? I said, I thought you were going to be a little more arrogant, but he's not. He's so like down to earth because, Rajat's a savage. You know how he is. He's just like a savage. So I thought he's going to be like, but he's just so cool, so down to earth. Everybody came up to him, took pictures, him and Jor, and he was just the nicest guy. Both
and Jerry.
I was the bodyguard.
Yeah.
Well, you did a heck of a job. If that you think was your role that week, you did a heck of a job because we're still here. We made it back home to Canada in one piece. I'm seeing some questions here about. Actually, I saw two. So, well, maybe take a quick break here. Go over a couple different things. There's a question about the best exchange in Canada. So we'll maybe talk about the best exchange in Canada. We'll talk about the best exchange in the US. Somebody was also asking if we could give away some sats from Bitcoin Well. So we'll do that as well right now. And I also want to give a couple shout outs here. So Ian, Cleaner Machine, sent in not one, not two, but three zaps of 2,500 sats each. The CYM zap. Thank you, my friend. Daniel sent in 888 sats. Said Jerry and the Maple for the win from Daniel. And we got a couple more, 11 sats, 10 sats, and 777 sats. I think that was from our guy, Joey. So again, if you would like to support the channel, we don't have any sponsors on here. We believe in maintaining our own voice. We think that that's the most important thing in Bitcoin is integrity. And so we don't have any sponsors. So you can support the channel, that QR code right beside Jerry's head there. You can send to, or if you're watching this on on your phone, you can also just type that in, maplebitcoin@coinos.io. And if you send it during the show, we can read the comment, or if you just want to do it to keep the momentum going here, keep the show alive, you can do that as well. So, Jerry, while I get into Bitcoin Well here, while I log in so we can give away a few sats, who do you use for buying Bitcoin in the US? Who's the best exchange there?
Well, I use Strike. It's the best one for me. I unfortunately, I can't use River. I'm hearing a lot of good things about River. But I live in Nevada, and I come from New York, and I have a New York State number. And when I was at the convention, they told me, "Oh, you can do it as long as you Satoshi Central, as long as you don't live in Nevada and don't live in New York." I said, "Well, I do both, so I can't do that." But I love Strike. Strike is Jack Mahler's, and I buy every hour on the hour. Shout out to Satoshi Central, Maddie. She's got a great channel. So I like Strike.
Shout out to Maddie. Satoshi Central. She is also she's a young lady in Bitcoin. Actually, she's made a couple of videos. Very good, very down to earth, very knowledgeable, and she's one of those people that I think you're just drawn to. So make sure you check out Maddie. Jerry knows her pretty well. They're both in the same city, and we need more females in Bitcoin. So please, if you got a couple seconds here, go subscribe to Maddie's channel and Satoshi Central there. Great name, by the way, too.
Yeah, and she's 21, guys. She just turned 21. So this is going to be a great year for her because obviously 21 is a great number and a year for all of us when we turn adults, and 21 for Bitcoin. And she has a great channel. She's doing a great job.
Rajat, while I get this open up, I'm kind of struggling here to talk and do this, but Do you want to talk about ShakePay? I know you've used ShakePay a little bit. What's your thoughts on ShakePay? Oh, you're muted, bud.
I think it's great. It works. I don't really have any problems with them. Transactions are fast. It's always e-transfer, so they accept the money pretty quickly. That transaction that I had posted before, that's from ShakePay. I don't shake my phone anymore because they started getting people to use their debit card or whatever to make transactions. So I stopped doing that. But there's a perk where they give you a debit card or a credit card where you spend on that credit card. If you keep doing transactions weekly, then you get an extra amount of Satoshis, and I think you get rewarded in Bitcoin through that or something like that. But I don't know. I have no problem with them. The way that I see it, though, I don't really care about which exchange I buy from. The only thing that I'm more worried about is getting Satoshis and taking it off the exchange. As long as you can take it off the exchange, I think you're fine. It doesn't matter where you get it from. So, for example, you want to make sure that the exchange isn't charging too much of a fee. For example, what's the exchange? Coinbase. They charge like 5% in fees if you have small transactions. But ShakePay, they don't do that, right? ShakePay just charges you a percentage. So if you buy $1, they'll charge you 1 cent. At Coinbase, if I buy $1 worth, they're going to charge me $1 in transaction fee. So I can't really buy $1 worth. So that's something you have to think about. If you're buying small amounts, you need to go with an exchange that's going to allow you to buy small amounts.
Is ShakePay like the Canadian fold? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Personally, like I've used ShakePay before. I use Bull Bitcoin, or not Bull Bitcoin. I've used Bull Bitcoin as well. They're a great exchange here in Canada. But the only place I've been buying as of late is Bitcoin Well. The one thing I would say about ShakePay and who should be using ShakePay in this case is somebody who doesn't have the ability to take self-custody of their Bitcoin yet. Because if you're using an exchange like Bitcoin Well, the nice thing about them is they don't hold any Bitcoin at all or dollars. You send them money, they send you Bitcoin instantly. They don't custodian any Bitcoin or dollars, I don't think. So that's the nice thing about Bitcoin Well. It's a little bit more advanced, I guess. You need a wallet already. But ShakePay, you can just send them dollars. You literally send them an e-transfer and you can buy Bitcoin with that and store it there for a while, which again is against popular opinion within Bitcoin. But I really think that sats are safer on an exchange like ShakePay if you're somebody who's brand new to Bitcoin. They're reputable. They've been around for a long time. And as Rajat mentioned there, you can actually shake your phone once a day and earn free sats. I think I get about 300 sats every day just for literally opening up the app and shaking my phone. So I use their Visa too. I use it for all our business purchases. I use it for all my daily purchases in life. It's exact same as a Visa card. Either way, they're collecting my data. So I figured I might as well get some free sats back for doing so. So there's a couple links we have here. We have one for Bitcoin Well for Maple Bitcoin, which I'm going to talk about in a sec here. We have a link for ShakePay. I'll put that in the comments. So if you're watching this later, and I'll throw them in the live chat now for the people who are watching now. But yeah.
You notice the common theme here, Bitcoin only, guys. That's the common theme.
ShakePay is not Bitcoin only. They do also do ETH. No, that's okay. They do also do ETH, but I mean, I've never bought ETH from them. For me, it just works. Even if it was an altcoin, if it was an altcoin exchange as well, I don't personally care, because I mean, unless, let's say, information can be leaked, maybe they don't care about that kind of stuff. Like Coinbase, actually, maybe that's something to discuss. Coinbase is not Bitcoin only, and they have had a lot of issues with leaking people's information. So I may have just corrected myself live there. Maybe Bitcoin only.
It doesn't matter which exchange you use. That's your
that's what I was saying before. But I mean, if it's Bitcoin, I guess maybe if it's Bitcoin only, then it doesn't really matter. But I've never had any issues with ShakePay, which has been pretty great. I think the main point here is just get Bitcoin.
Yes. Yep. That's a great point. I do want to talk about Bitcoin Well, though, because especially if you're in Canada, and whoever asked that question is obviously from Canada, if they're asking about ShakePay. But there's a couple different features that Bitcoin Well has that no other exchange that I've ever seen in the world has. One of those is actually the ability to swap from layer 1 to layer 2. So swapping your Bitcoin from on-chain to Lightning, if you want to participate on Nostr, if you want to pay for things in Bitcoin, you want to buy a burger at Steak and Shake, things like that, you can actually do that swap for free using Bitcoin Well. you can also pay bills. So you can actually start the transition away from the fiat system. You don't have to go through your bank anymore. You can actually just set up your whoever you're making your payment to, your credit card company. That's what Jack Mallers does. He doesn't even have any dollars. He just buys everything with a credit card and he pays for it with Bitcoin using Strike. So you could do that in the US. In Canada, the version of that is Bitcoin Well. So I love Bitcoin Well. It's what I use for all my purchases of Bitcoin these days. And we actually have an account with them now. So I just shared it there. It's bitcoinwell.com/referral/Maple Bitcoin. And so it's a good way to support the channel without actually giving us any direct funding. You just buy some Bitcoin. I think we get a very small percentage of that Bitcoin. And that's the one that I recommend everybody use. Again, it is a little bit more advanced because you have to have a wallet already, but I'm thinking most people who are watching the show would be at that level already. So the other cool thing too, you can you sign up for that link. I think you get 5 free tosses into the Bitcoin wishing well, which is kind of a unique feature on Bitcoin Well. And so we're going to give away some sats here. The first person to scan this QR code on the screen, Rajat, I'm watching your hands. Keep them down. The first person to scan this QR code is going to win some sats courtesy of Bitcoin Well. So are we ready? Are we set? Go. There's the toss into the well. 385 sats. That's kind of on the lower end. So I'm going to toss one more here because that's kind of I mean, it's $385 in the future, but still kind of low for their usual. So we'll toss one more here. We'll let people scan that. I'll try to make it a little bit bigger for you. Make it easier.
And just comment if you get it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, let us know if you if it worked and if you got it. I know it works because I do it quite often on the Bitcoin journey, but we'll do one more here. Ready? Set. Go.
Oh, Johnny got it.
Bitcoin Well actually had the pleasure of golfing with Adam from Bitcoin Well while I was in Vegas on Monday. So great guy. I love everything that they're doing. That's why I have no issues supporting them because they're doing great work. They got the best platform and they're great people. So what more could you ask for in a Bitcoin exchange? So 397, couple sats courtesy of our friends at Bitcoin Well. Okay, boys. If nobody claimed those, I'll get them later. I'll scoop them up later.
I think Johnny won the first one. Who got the second?
Johnny. Let's go.
And
That's a
Winter,
good question. What wallet are you guys using to, where'd that go? What wallet are you guys using that supports this? So Speed Wallet. Go to the App Store, download the Speed Wallet. Actually, you could just watch the video that I posted yesterday. It has all the information on how to do it, how to swap, all that kind of stuff. So that's on the 88 Sats radio channel. Where do you guys want to go from here?
I wanted to talk about actually. So we always talk about how to retire with Bitcoin and how Jor, I don't know if you remember this, but we used to talk about how I was against borrowing against your Bitcoin before.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? I think I've changed my status on I've changed my stand on that. I think I've learned more, and I've kind of changed what I think. I think you should borrow against your Bitcoin, especially if people are willing to accept fiat for valuable things. Because if you're selling your Bitcoin, you're just giving it to MicroStrategy, you're just giving it to BlackRock, right? Of course, you have to do it in a smart way. You don't just borrow against your entire stack. You have to make sure that you have some room for error. If Bitcoin's price drops 90%, you want to make sure you're not going to get liquidated. But the point here is, I think using Bitcoin as collateral is probably one of the best decisions in the world, at least right now, maybe because you're keeping your Bitcoin. But then also, as these newer institutions start accepting Bitcoin as collateral, I think we're going to see that pump Bitcoin's price up massively. Because over time, that's already happening. Like people think that $1 million, $10 million is not realistic, right? People think we're done at 100K. It's never going to 150K. I got a comment saying that yesterday, but I think that all of that is going to. It's slowly then suddenly, right? It's gradually then suddenly. So all of that is just going to compound over time. It's going to compound, and there's going to literally be no Bitcoin available for sale because people are going to be borrowing against their Bitcoin. They're going to be borrowing fiat against their Bitcoin until and the way that I see it, most people are just ignoring Bitcoin, right? Until the majority of people understand Bitcoin and until we do actually go to a Bitcoin standard, I think you should borrow against your Bitcoin. I think you should borrow against your stack. At least, I mean, obviously, borrow only a small amount. Don't if you need, let's say, $500, don't sell $500 worth of Bitcoin because number one, you're gonna have to pay taxes. Number two, you lose the future potential of that Bitcoin unless somebody wants Bitcoin. Like, let's say if I'm working with you guys and I want to pay you for something and you want Bitcoin, I'm gonna pay you in Bitcoin. But if it's Walmart and if I have to sell some Bitcoin to pay for my bill, I'd rather just borrow against it.
I think the main unlock for me with Bitcoin lending, I see it the exact same way, Rajad. I'm not in any sort of rush. I don't think that we're quite to the point where it's, you never want to be the first person through the door. They always get shot, right? So you kind of wait, you let the dust settle, and then you figure out who's trustworthy. I think it's going to take some time. I'm really in no rush myself to lend against my Bitcoin or do anything like that. I sell Bitcoin all the time. I had to sell Bitcoin yesterday because my Vegas trip ran over a little more than I thought it was going to. But the reason I had to sell it is because literally every time I get dollars, I convert that to Bitcoin. And so when unexpected costs do come up in your life, you do have to sell it. So I think the same as you, Rajat. I do foresee a future where I'll never have to touch my Bitcoin. I'm just going to have the best bank. And the nice thing is there's going to be global competition for it. Like we talked about earlier in the episode in terms of like finding and networking people really being restricted to your local area now, there's going to come a point where the bank that I'm working with or the company, I'm not going to call them a bank, the company that I'm working with, I'm going to deposit my Bitcoin. I'm not going to have to show any sort of like KYC or anything. They just have my Bitcoin. That's the only thing that they're going to need there. It won't matter what my credit score is. It won't matter what anything is. They have my Bitcoin as collateral. So if I stop making my payments, they can just sell my Bitcoin. That's what this thing is going to unlock here. And it's going to be bigger than anybody can even fathom, I think, at this point. And so if you're watching this today, congratulations, because you are going to be one of the people who gets to take advantage of that in the future. And while you're paying your expenses in fiat that you borrowed against your Bitcoin is going to go up more than the costs that you're paying to service that Bitcoin. It's incredible.
Absolutely. It's the ultimate collateral. I mean, Michael Saylor talks about it all the time. You know, he talks about the cyberspace, the New York City, Manhattan, and cyberspace. I love that one. Where these rich people that own New York City, blocks of New York City, whatever, they don't sell that stuff, guys. You know, they borrow against it. And in the future, again, there's going to be no asset on the planet that's going to be more finite than your Satoshis. Nothing. It's not even going to be close. And I'm in the same camp with Jor. I'm not thinking about it right now. I'm in just 100% right now accumulation phase until 2035, the day that the gold rush is over. Because the gold rush, in my personal opinion, like Michael Saylor says, it started January 10th, 11th, 2024, and it's going to last until 2035, until the last of the 99% of the last 1% is going to be left. And when that happens, guys, and again, that's not that far, right? It's 2025 now. That's 10 years from now. Do you remember 2015? I do. The world is going to look completely different, and there's going to be a lot of institutions, almost every quote unquote financial institution, bank, or whatever you want to call them, that's going to want your Bitcoin, and they're going to be competing in the future for not only to give you the best rates, but to give you the best length of the loan and everything else. It's going to be a lot of competition. Right now, it's brand new, and like George said, you know, you don't want to be in for the first through the door to get shot first. But again, I would just, you know, hold your Bitcoin as long as you can. Of course, you know, everybody's different, and your finances are different. Personal finance is personal, but try to hold on to it as long as you can, because trust me, it is going to be the most pristine collateral in the world.
I wanted to mention something. One way, so I agree with everything you said there, Jerry. I was thinking, just as I kind of go down this rabbit hole, I've been thinking about how, let's say, for example, let's say you bought your Bitcoin at 50K, Now it's at 100K. If you take on a 50% loan to value loan, it's like you're taking your money out. You're basically just getting your money back. It's like a stop order, right? It's like a stop loss, basically, where you bought it for 50K, you took out your 50K, now you can spend that 50K if you want to, right? So it changes everything. And you have to
Literally.
be smart, of course. You have to wait. You can't do it immediately. When you buy your Bitcoin, let's say you buy it today and you take on a loan today, you could put yourself in a position where you might get liquidated if you don't have more Bitcoin. But let's say you buy it today, a year from now, it quadruples in price. Borrow against 5% of what you have. And you're so under leveraged, you're at like 1% leverage. Your loan to value is like 1, 2, 5, 10% maybe. And if Bitcoin's price does fall, you can start adding more collateral. That way your Bitcoin's not going to be sold. When Bitcoin comes back up, you can buy it right back. Or if you want to, you just leave it there and you can let it be liquidated. Keep in mind though, you may have to pay the taxes on that. But it's like I mentioned, it's like a stop loss where if Bitcoin's price goes to a certain level, it's automatically going to be sold and you're out. That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's that's kind of where I would go from there. Is like make sure that you know, you don't want to just throw your Bitcoin to a random company that you found online. Like that's why I'm saying let the dust settle a little bit here. If you are in a rush to do this, make sure you do some very good due diligence on it. Understand the terms, understand what could happen to your Bitcoin, because we are not immune from another 70% drop. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be there for long, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen for a flash. And that could be like detrimental to somebody out there who has been, taking their time and energy, learning about Bitcoin, doing it the right way. But just like one Sunday night, it's gone because you didn't really understand what you were getting into there. So just beware. And again, what both these guys are saying is that it is the best collateral. We know that already, but the system's not really set up for that yet. So just give it some time, do your due diligence. And that was the one thing. So when I was talking about the Tesla shares versus Bitcoin, I had competitors, supply chain, PE ratio, forced buyers, room for growth, custody of the asset, and CEO risk in there. And the one advantage, Bitcoin won all those against Tesla. But the one advantage that Tesla has over Bitcoin today is that you can leverage your Tesla shares. You can use that as collateral and take on debt against that. And that's what a lot of rich people do. And Elon himself, I think they had to tell him to stop putting I think Saylor mentioned that, or somebody mentioned that, Jack maybe. He had to stop using his shares for collateral. But again, that's the world that we live in today. That's not the world that we're going to live in from 5 or 10 years from now. So Bitcoin is new. This whole ecosystem, lending, collateral is new, but it is going to be very important, I think. And again, if you're watching this today, congratulations. If you hold any Bitcoin today, you're going to be able to leverage this in the future. And unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people who aren't, but sucks to suck, I guess you'd say. We tried to tell you.
That's it.
I got something I want to talk about if you guys don't have anything.
I wanted to actually just finish that off
Yep.
with a spreadsheet, just because I feel like the spreadsheets just illustrate the point a lot better. Sorry, do you mind just sharing my? Oh, there you go. Okay, so let's say you have 30. I'll get rid of this. So let's say you have $30,000 worth of Bitcoin. Today you can borrow $15,000 against it. Of course, the rates are higher. The rates are like 10%. Wait until maybe Bitcoin. I mean, I don't think it's ever going to be stable, but wait for the loan terms to be in your favor. So let's say, for example, some loan term comes out where they allow you to borrow for 5 years. You can't get liquidated. They hold your Bitcoin in multi-sig. All of those things work in your favor, right? They have control over Bitcoin because you have the multi-sig, but they can't liquidate you without letting you know. Of course, your Bitcoin could still be confiscated. That's one of the keys. So something you want to do is when we're like right now in the middle of a bull market, maybe near the end, I don't know if we'll go higher. Maybe we don't have these bull and bear market cycles anymore. But the higher the price goes, I would say use a smaller percentage as collateral of your total stack. So let's say you have one Bitcoin. Today you might want to use like 0.05 Bitcoin as collateral. Right? But over time, that 0.05 Bitcoin. So let's say today that 0.05 Bitcoin is worth $5,000 and you're using $2,500 as leverage, or so you're borrowing $2,500 against it. Let's say the Bitcoin's value doubles, so your collateral doubles. Now this collateral goes to $10,000. Your lender will give you another $2,500. They'll print another $2,500 and they'll give them to you. You just have to agree to it. That's it. You basically just increased your wealth to $5,000 now. You can take $5,000 out of it. Now, if you think about this, let's talk about how our kids could be impacted by this positively. Let's say you buy them 1,000,000 Satoshis today. You buy 1,000,000 Satoshis and you just put it in a wallet. And when your kid turns 18, you give them that 0.01 Bitcoin, million Satoshis. So today, maybe that 0.01 Bitcoin is worth $1,000. But let's say 20 years from now, it's worth, let's say Bitcoin actually goes to $10 million and that Bitcoin is now worth $100,000. So your kid can go and borrow $50,000 against that Bitcoin, 50 grand. And they'll probably be able to get great terms on that where they can't be liquidated because the bank wants their money. The bank wants their collateral. Rates will probably be down to like 1, 2, 3% at that point. Bitcoin's volatility, I mean, who knows? Maybe the fiat currency system doesn't even exist anymore. So you just give your kid 1,000,000 sats and they can do whatever they want with it. They can buy a house. They can buy a car. At that point, if the fiat currency financial system collapses, Bitcoin's going to buy you everything, right? You'll be able to buy anything with it. So if you can buy them that 1,000,000 Satoshis, then either number one, they can go and borrow against it if fiat still exists, or number two, they can use it to buy the things they want to. So you're basically solving the housing crisis for your kid by buying a small amount of Bitcoin. I think at that point, it'll be worth more than 100K though. Let's say it's worth 500K. They can go and start a business with $250,000. And who knows, maybe that business is massive. Maybe it turns into something where now they can change the lives of the people around them. Maybe they build generational wealth just because you bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin.
Or they just enjoy what they're doing instead of bullshit jobs for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that Bitcoin's going to do is everybody's worried about AI and robotics and stuff. It's going to free up so much time for people to do things that we're actually put on this earth to do that we're not today. We're not doing because we're just like in a hamster wheel, chasing the melting ice cube that is fiat. That's a great example, Rajat. I think that, do you got anything else to add to that, or can I expand on it a little bit?
I'm good.
Okay. So kind of my thoughts on this. This is my prediction for sometime in the next, I don't know. I don't want to put a time frame on it. In the future though, I really think that if you want to get a mortgage, I think you're going to have to buy some Bitcoin as part of the mortgage. And the reason I say it is because they already have products like this available in the US for you to refinance your house, buy Bitcoin, put some improvements into your house, some capital improvements, make your house a little bit more valuable. But the nice thing from the bank's perspective there is that if you were to miss a loan payment somewhere along the way, they don't have to sell half the house or a room in the house or, worry about finding a buyer locally. They can just sell some of your Bitcoin that's attached to that mortgage. So from the bank's perspective, it's going to make so much more sense to force people to actually hold Bitcoin in addition to their house. So they have this loan, the debt with the bank, but it's not just going to be the house anymore, because houses, we're going to find out here shortly, aren't really worth what we think that they're worth in real terms, in Bitcoin terms. And so the bank is going to want some real capital, and they're not just a house. So I think that in the future, that's going to be a requirement. If you want to get a mortgage with the bank, you're also going to have to buy some Bitcoin with that. And imagine if every single person who owns a house and gets a mortgage was forced into buying some Bitcoin. Like Rajat's predictions are of 500,000. That might be 5 million.
Agreed.
Yeah, that'll buy you a house at some point. Like 0.01 Bitcoin, 0.1 Bitcoin. All of those numbers, they seem really small when you compare. Like we were talking before, we were talking about Satoshis. Jerry, you mentioned put your wallet in terms of Satoshis rather than Bitcoin. 0.1 Bitcoin doesn't sound like a lot. 0.01 Bitcoin doesn't sound like a lot. But 10 million Satoshis, what are you going to be able to buy with $10 million essentially in the future? A lot. And over time, that purchasing power is just going to keep going up and up and up. And you're going to have to borrow against it. If fiat still exists, I think that fiat's going to die because of that, because people are going to borrow against their Bitcoin and they're going to keep adding more and more money to the system. and the wealth gap is going to keep increasing. So the people who save in fiat, the people who are actually supporting fiat, they're going to be the ones who get the most hurt because they're saving in fiat, they're saving in stocks, they're saving in real estate. In terms of Bitcoin, all of those things are just crashing in terms in price.
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
I see a couple comments here. DNDH and Shane are kind of going back and forth. Says Shane, yeah, I'd like to hear their 2 cents on that topic. I can't figure out what it is Shane asked, though, that you want us to discuss here. So if you're still watching it, DND or Shane, just put the topic again in the comments. I must have missed it somewhere along the way.
Well, I think it says if everyone borrows against Bitcoin, then you have banks lending fiat against it and they'll re-lend it to someone else multiple times over. We're back to square
Oh, this one?
I think so. I think that's what it is. So my thoughts on that are my thought on that is that of course that'll happen, and you'll probably have banks that are doing that. You'll have banks that are creating their own fractional reserve system. But if they collapse and if they just use too much leverage, it doesn't affect the entire world. Because they have the Bitcoin in their custody. If they do something wrong, if they're not paid back, their lenders are going to be the ones that are hurt, and not everybody else. Not the entire world is going to get hit. There are going to be custodians who aren't doing fractional reserve. So I was looking at this company called Ledin. I'm not promoting them or anything like that. I'm not working with them. Nothing like that. I just saw them at a conference a few years ago, and they're still around. So with Ledin, you can choose whether you want a custodied loan or a not custodied loan. Like you can just have the Bitcoin. Either they can, not custody, rehypothecation. So you can choose to pay a higher interest rate if you don't want your Bitcoin to be rehypothecated, right?
Yeah.
So if you can do something like that, and with a company that's been around for a while, they've been around for 6 years. That's what I saw on their numbers. I'm not saying to use them. I'm just saying, do your due diligence. If you have the option of getting a loan that doesn't have the Bitcoin rehypothecated versus it does, choose the one where the Bitcoin won't be rehypothecated. I think that extra 0.5%, 1% is worth it.
Yes. That's my thoughts as well. I think that it seems like over the last 5 years, especially more than any time in history, I would say, barring before the whole Federal Reserve creation, but it seems like people are actually taking this stuff seriously in terms of like knowing what fractional reserve banking is, knowing what fiat is now. Like fiat, nobody ever talked about fiat 5 years ago. And I feel like as more and more people get into Bitcoin, as more and more people learn about money, history, everything like this, the free market is basically going to eliminate anybody who's not willing to play fair, whoever isn't willing to show proof of reserves for the Bitcoin that they actually hold. I do expect here and there it's going to get really out of control. I think it's probably going to happen this cycle in terms of there's just like too many things being built on top of Bitcoin right now, and some of it's going to collapse. It's inevitable. But again, after the collapse, long-term, Bitcoin's still going to be here. It's what we're building the foundation on top of. And I think that as long as you have that solid foundation, the bad actors will be snuffed out over time.
The whole world is changing. I'd like to talk about something real quick, if that's okay, if you guys don't have anything else.
Of course.
Because this goes with all three of us. I want to talk about Steak and Shake for a minute. That was an incredible experience because me and Jor went together by ourselves, and then me, Jor, and Rajat went together with some other friends. And I got to tell you, man, you talking about living in the future, like Jor's group. That is just incredible to me, and what they're doing. And when you talk to the people that work there and everything, because me and Jor and Rajat did, the amount of Bitcoiners that come there to eat a burger and fries. And I asked every one of these guys, I said, hey, if you need a burger and fry and you had a Steak and Shake in your area, let's just say it's even a little bit farther than any other burger and fry shake or burger and fry place, are you going to eat a burger and fry anywhere else besides Steak and Shake? No. Right? So again, I think, and I was talking to Rajat about this, I cannot wait to see these numbers that come out. Right? Because again, we don't know their profit and loss sheet or whatever. We don't know what they got going on. But again, if they keep, what do we say, Rajat, 25% of their Bitcoin, 50% of their Bitcoin, My God, man. And then what's going to happen? Everybody's going to copycat. Remember the Steak and Shake that we went specifically on Fremont Street? There were other little restaurants around, and I'm telling you, man, I'm not exaggerating when I say this. These other places weren't getting any business. It was all Steak and Shake. Now, again, it was a Bitcoin conference for full context, but the seamlessness of it, how quick it is, right? They get, and then it's quick for us. We want to support the Bitcoin network, and also for them, not only the fees are lower because of the Visa and stuff is cut out, but they get final settlement like that, right? So again, right now we're in the phase of people are wanting to spend their Bitcoiners and doing it, and then they may accept it. But in the future, I believe all these companies are going to demand it. And it's just an incredible thing. What do you guys think about that?
Ginger just left a really great comment. They created free marketing, right? They made it so that people are going. I would never have discovered. Would you have discovered Steak and Shake, Jor?
Never.
We're Canadian, right? I never would have thought, oh, that's the burger place I want to go to. I would have thought something like In-N-Out. What are the other burger places? Chick-fil-A.
Five Guys.
And again,
Right.
what did it cost them to do that? What did it cost them?
Nothing.
Not much, right?
It saved them money. I saw on actually just based on what you're saying there, it saved them money because they posted something about how their transaction fees were decreased by 50%. That's massive.
Massive. I'm guessing if it only saved, I shouldn't say only, but like in a fully Bitcoin world, there's like 1 sat per transaction fee for a Lightning versus like 2 or 3% of the transaction cost for these restaurants. I'm thinking like at this stage, Speed Wallet probably charged them some sort of a setup fee for everything just to make sure that it's all running properly, the training costs involved with that. But even if after paying those costs, they still save 50% on their transaction fees, like that's a no-brainer. And for me, these guys mentioned kind of 25% they should be putting. I think every sat that they get there, they should be holding on to. It just doesn't make any sort of sense to convert that into fiat. And the reason I say that is because let's say that everybody came in there tomorrow and they all paid Bitcoin. That would be a problem for them because all of their costs are denominated in fiat terms. But I would guess a percentage of their customers that pay in Bitcoin might be 10%. So that margin there is they're not going to miss out on much in terms of being able to service their fiat expenses every month by holding that in Bitcoin. And as that number goes up from 5% of their transactions in Bitcoin to 10% of their transactions in Bitcoin and above, that Bitcoin that they've been holding in the background, they can start selling some of that if they need to. If they need to cover those costs in the future, that increase in the sats that they've been holding is going to have increased so significantly that if they ever had to, they could start converting that into fiat and paying their bills and their food costs and wages that way. But at this point, like based on the percentage of people who are actually paying in Bitcoin, I don't think it makes sense for them to sell a single sat. Just hold on to those things. That'll be the best business decision that any company in history has ever made before.
Completely agree. But I was trying to be a little, with the 25 realistic, yeah, because you don't know what they're in. Again, if I were them, and we're being nice saying 5 and 10%. If they take all of their sales, obviously it's probably a really, really minuscule small percent. Because again, we're coming from our point of view, Bitcoiners, we're a small percentage of the planet. So if they have 300 million customers or whatever they said they have, again, if it's 0.02% of Bitcoin, again, keep it all, man. Just keep it all, and just that strategic Steak and Shake reserve or whatever they're going to call it is going to be massive in the future. Like again, we were talking about this too, Rajan. We're at the table when we're eating. Like, how many Satoshis or Bitcoin did these guys make in the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever? I cannot wait to see that. I can't wait to see that number.
Yeah, probably at least. I mean, I would be surprised if they're getting less than like 100 Bitcoin. Maybe 100 Bitcoin a day is too much.
Yeah, that'd be a lot.
10 Bitcoin a day.
I don't know.
Maybe less.
That'd be a really interesting experiment to do because you'd have to figure out how many restaurants they have, how many are actually accepting Bitcoin, because they gave a big speech saying that all restaurants accept Bitcoin. We went to one in Vegas where they weren't even accepting it there. So I think you'd have to know how many restaurants are actually accepting Bitcoin, and then probably take a percentage of that and then times it by the dollar amount, blah blah blah. It would be interesting though. That'd be a cool thing to figure out.
And real quick, guys, for you guys that's listening, if you have not been to Steak and Shake, and you're one of those people that just say, "Oh, I don't want to go," or I don't want to spend my Bitcoin," spend and replace. Go, and I'm not saying go out of your way to spend money. I'm not telling you how to spend your money or anything like that. What I'm saying is, in your monthly budget that you have to eat out, if you have one, and you want to go get a burger and fries, don't go anywhere else but Steak and Shake. Take your $20, $30, or whatever that you're going to spend anyways at McDonald's or wherever. Go to Steak and Shake. Beef tallow French fries, steak burgers, right? Which was really good, guys, right?
Actually, surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Rajat liked it.
I thought it was great.
Right.
Get the double bacon cheeseburger. That's what I got. Delicious.
Number 4. The number 4.
Number 4.
I don't know if it's like that on every market, but go out there, and as soon as I'm telling you, and if you have a speed wallet, use your speed wallet, because I didn't know this till a few days ago. You get 1,000 sats back when you use your speed wallet with Steak and Shake. Wow. So you get your 1,000 sats back. As soon as you spend it, you replace it with the dollars you're going to spend anyways, and help, the ecosystem. Because again, if we want this thing to be real money and we want it to be the future, us as Bitcoiners, we can't hold all of our stuff. We keep 99.9%, 97, whatever in our cold storage. Keep some on your Lightning and spend and replace. It's incredible, man.
Yes, 100%. JBaby says it would suck for Bitcoin if they pulled the plug on it. Well, here's my thoughts on that, and I want to hear what you guys think too. But my thoughts is like, they're all in on this. It seems they're the first ones to do it. They didn't do it at one. They didn't pussyfoot into it. They did it at the majority of their locations. Their CEO spoke at the Bitcoin conference. They're not going in reverse now, I don't think. And I think that historically there's been a lot of businesses who started accepting Bitcoin, and two things happened. Number one, this was before Lightning is what it is today. Like, people used to have to use on-chain payments, and they'd have to wait at the store or go zero confirmation and just trust the fact that it would go through. Like that would never scale. That would never work in any world at scale. The second point, though, is that they actually had to train their employees to use it, which means that if some Bitcoiner came in May and bought a product or a burger or whatever with Bitcoin, and then nobody else came in for another 2 months, then they had to retrain their employees over and over again. And it just didn't really make economical sense to do that. But now it seems like ShakePay, and they'll be the first of many to do this, they've automated it for the most part. They have the kiosks. You don't have to retrain kiosks. You just type in your order, you pay with Lightning. There's no retraining of staff there. So I don't see any reason why they would start going backwards on it now, because they've already fully committed to it. So in the past, we've seen businesses kind of pull the plug on Bitcoin because it just didn't make sense for them. But I think that we're at a different point now.
Yes.
Did you guys see my response on what plug he was talking about?
Jesus, this is a family-friendly show.
Somebody asked, LOL. I mean, what does that even really mean, though, right? What if they pulled the plug? How would they pull the plug?
Well,
it's not like there's one computer.
I think that it means that they stop accepting Bitcoin.
Rajat, you are a savage.
That's savage of savage. I think these guys are getting in Rajat's head now. He's going full savage mode.
But nothing would affect Bitcoin, though, right? If
it wouldn't.
Steak and Shake stops accepting Bitcoin, it's not like Bitcoin is going to be affected, right?
It's a plus for Steak and Shake. They had a booth in the conference, and those guys were smiling ear to ear in that place, man. They are making an absolute killing. This is the easiest play for any kind of restaurant ever, because again, what's it costing them? Probably nothing. They're getting all this extra marketing and stuff like that. People are coming in so excited to get a burger and fries, guys. People are excited and happy and asking questions to the staff about burgers and fries. You know what I mean? It's just, I've never seen anything like that. Again, I said this and somebody made fun of me. I had a tear in my eye eating a burger and fry. Jor, you know what I'm talking about.
I also think there's something else there where the companies that actually accumulate Bitcoin, they're going to be able to do things that other companies aren't.
Leverage.
Right, and not even that is actually, yes, the leverage is really important because of that Bitcoin. But what I mean is that they're going to be able to try different things that other companies aren't able to
Yes.
because they have that. Is that what you mean by leverage?
That's what I mean by leverage. I'm not
Right.
saying go to
Okay.
the
Yeah.
bank and, use it as leverage, but just like they're going to have way more purchasing power from what they earn today, just like we were talking about before. It's not when you earn it, it's when you actually spend it, or in this case, reinvest it back into your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that
And
what you're talking about? Like reinvesting it?
that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, Steak and Shake. I'm assuming tallow is more expensive than vegetable oil, right?
Yes.
So they'll be able to continuously they'll be able to buy tallow no matter how expensive it gets because in terms of their treasury, it's going to decrease in price. Whereas all these other companies, let's say McDonald's, they're going to struggle to even buy vegetable oil because in terms of their treasury, the price is increasing no matter what. And over time, you're going to see that the containers get smaller. The amount of ice cream that they give you in a sundae is going to get smaller. The burgers are getting smaller. The
The quality
patties,
is going to get worse.
exactly, shrinkflation. It's just going to get worse and worse because they don't have Bitcoin. And we're gonna if we go back to Steak and Shake next year or 2 years, 5 years from now, we both sorry, Jor and I both live in Canada. If both of us go back, we're probably going to notice that it's exactly the same or it's better.
Yes.
The quality will be better. It'll be bigger because remember what I said. These are kind of they're kind of small. I
Yeah.
think it's going to get better, and again
Yeah.
because they're going to have such a first mover advantage, and people don't understand. And sorry, Rajat, if I'm cutting you off, you weren't
No,
done
you're
yet.
good.
Okay, is that Bitcoiners are so freaking powerful, man, and we found this out in the 2024 election that they move the needle when it comes to Ross Ulbricht and stuff like that. Guys, if Bitcoiners keep going to Steak and Shake and their balance sheet is going up and up and up, and others are going down and down again, because again, I am not buying a burger and fries from anywhere else. And true Bitcoiners should not do that. You should not go to McDonald's. You shouldn't go to Wendy's. You shouldn't go to all these places. If you have a Steak and Shake, support your Bitcoin company. Listen, man, this is not priced in, man. I'm telling you, this is going to be like a domino effect, in my opinion, down the road.
Game theory for burger joints.
I wouldn't be surprised if in like 10 years they're worth more than McDonald's. That
Well,
would be
you're out.
crazy.
You nailed it, Rajat. Like you nailed it there. That's exactly what's going to happen, and that's what we've seen happen for the last 20 years. Is these companies like McDonald's, as big as they are, as well recognized as they are, they can't even keep up with the money printer. Their quality is going down. Why do you think canola oil and veggie oil has become so prominent within our society? It's because it's cheaper. They don't have to raise the price if they can get cheaper input costs. That's the whole game here. So that's what we live through now. We're going to a different world, and Steak and Shake I think is going to be at the forefront of that, but it's going to affect everybody. It's going to affect the quality of the houses that are being built. The companies that actually adopt Bitcoin first are going to be the ones who can put quality products back into houses. Healthcare, any industry who has Bitcoin is going to be able to improve quality. Any business that stays in fiat is going to continue to have to reduce their quality just to keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal, boys. Jerry's got a show in 20 minutes. We should try to keep this about 20 minutes. I'm sure Jerry doesn't mind going a little bit late on here, putting words in your mouth there. But
It's fine.
so
It's fine.
okay. So let's I want to give a couple shout outs here. We had 1,000 sat zap from somebody. We had an 808 sat zap from somebody, 71 and 300. So thank you, everybody. We do appreciate it. Sats of any amount. That QR code right beside Jerry's head there. It makes a big difference for us. It truly, truly does, because you know that we are keeping our reserve, the quality of our production, the quality of our lives are going to improve because we are storing our time and energy in Bitcoin. So thank you for those donations there to support the channel here. It means a lot. So I do want to get to a couple questions though. So let's try to keep this in the next 15, 20 minutes. We'll answer some questions here and then we'll hit the road. I like this one, and I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about this one. This is from Radical Quail and said, I had one question. Do you guys have any cons with Bitcoin?
So in general, I would think that the con is that if you lose your keys, you lose your Bitcoin. But there's always trade-offs. You can choose to keep your Bitcoin with an exchange. You can diversify your holdings. So that's not really a con. Um, if you want to save for the long term, there's I mean, there's going to be the volatility in the short term, but you have to save. I guess maybe that's the con. You can't save for the short term with Bitcoin.
Ooh, that's a good point, Rajat. So are you saying like because of the volatility, because at any day you could see a 50, 60% drop that you
Yeah.
can't really go all in on Bitcoin all the time?
Yeah, unless you have like a credit card or something that you can spend on.
But
Unless you have
that's
a
like your
job.
theory of Bitcoin and cash, right?
Yeah.
Or kind of my theory along the same lines is Bitcoin and Tether or Bitcoin and
Yeah.
USDT.
Same thing. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So with that in mind, then, I mean, this is something that I've been thinking about myself a little bit lately. Right now, there's no chance I'm all in on Bitcoin right now. Every dollar that I have goes into Bitcoin, but there will probably come a time where Bitcoin's price is maybe 200, 250,000. At that point, at what I feel could be close to the peak of this cycle, I actually might trade in some of my Bitcoin for USDT because I live on Bitcoin. If I stay in Bitcoin the whole time, like it's going to become really, really hard for me. And when I go to spend that Bitcoin, then I'm going to get screwed. So like that's a whole nother thing here that a lot of Bitcoiners probably haven't lived through yet, which is that drop. If you haven't been through one Bitcoin cycle yet, you don't know the feeling and how, not only psychologically how bad that is, but like everything gets more expensive because what you're holding has gone down in value.
Yeah.
So like, what are you guys' thoughts on possibly swapping off like in chunks some into like a USDT for that drop? I actually like it myself. I see Jerry shaking his head there, but it's tough when you're all in on Bitcoin and it goes down and all of a sudden you have to pay all your expenses and it becomes more and more expensive. It's not a bad idea to hold a portion of it in USDT, I feel like.
Yeah.
Not
I
for
agree.
me. Not for me.
Oh, what do you think of this, Jerry?
Well, I'm kind of a if I have to have cash, I'll take cash if I have to do it. But I do a different thing. I have some credit cards that I use. So if something happens, I'll just pay for some credit cards, and I have a little bit of cash.
What
Are
if it
you okay with
stays down for like a year though, and you have to pay 20% interest on your credit card debt? I feel like that's going to eat away anything that you would have held on to otherwise.
Yeah, I'd probably have to take a look at that then and talk to you about that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I mean, I would be okay with even carrying a balance for a little while because I mean, that's probably not the thing that most people want to hear because 20% is not low, it's very high interest. Um, but let's say, for example, if you get a line of credit, a 10%, 8% line of credit, you're much better off than with a credit card. But over the long term, I think even if you do borrow with the line of credit, you pay for your things with that, you're probably going to outperform Bitcoin. You're going to probably outperform with your Bitcoin. So if you just hold on to the Bitcoin, and then also think about it, you can also borrow against your Bitcoin at that point, right? If you really need to, Bitcoin's price comes down. Let's say it goes
Right.
up
But
to
you're going to have to
200K,
put up more collateral at that point.
but let's say it goes to 250, and then it drops 60% from there, comes right back down to 100K. You can borrow at these prices. If you're willing to borrow at these prices, then you'd probably be more willing to borrow at those prices because you know that the high is actually higher, the peak is higher. I don't know. I think I've really changed my opinion on that, but it only really works if you have enough Bitcoin. If you don't have enough, at a point, let's say you have 1,000 Bitcoin today, and you need to pay for your day to day expenses. You don't care. It doesn't really matter if Bitcoin's price drops even 90%,
For sure. For sure.
right?
Yep.
But that's gonna take some time, right? I think we're talking about the short term, right? We're talking about
Yes.
let's say 6 months to a
Months.
year from now,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't have enough Bitcoin to pay for your expenses today, I personally don't, not even close. I'm eventually going to get there, but not right now. No, not even close. Um, I think for me, it's more about just waiting, right? That's it. I'm starting to put more money into my day to day life because I know that eventually the Bitcoin that we stack now is going to be worth a lot more. So at some point, I mean, having the fiat is smart, but then you're losing that purchasing power. I think that's okay as well. Losing that purchasing power, it's a very small amount rather than using the credit card if you have to.
Are we saying like if we need it for bills, like short
For
term
bills.
bills?
For
Yeah.
bills,
Yeah.
I think having an emergency fund would be smarter
Well,
for that.
Yeah, I would do the
So you
combination.
could put that in USDT then, right? Or cash or something along those lines. Yeah.
I would do this combination of 3 things. This is just me. I would use a credit card as an emergency because again, you can pay. I do mine where you can pay it off at the end of the month, get some points,
Yeah.
fold card, get some sats. Also, having some cash in the reserves, like having a few months of bills. And again, I know it's tough as a Bitcoiner to have. They used to say 18 to 24 months. I don't have that anymore. I do have a couple of months of bills though in cash. That's tough because I used to have 18 to 24 months, but now it keeps when a dip comes.
And see, that's where I'm a little bit different, Jerry, because I don't have that right now, right?
Yeah. I
So
know.
I think that Bitcoin's still got a lot to go. That's why I'm storing all of my stuff in Bitcoin right
I
now.
understand.
I'm kind of talking about the point where it's like what I have now has basically doubled in purchasing power. So even then, if I sell some for USDT, like I've made off pretty good on that trade.
Yeah. And then you'd have to tell me about that offline. And the third step is if that's the case, I would just have to buy and lower my buys for the month and just pay the bills. So the combination of those 3 things, if it was an emergency.
Yeah, and I think that this is a really good conversation to have right now because I think we're saying the same thing, Jerry. It's just that you are doing that already. So you're already keeping emergency fiat that if something were to happen, you could pay your bills with that.
It ain't much.
Okay. So like I'm saying, I don't have that right now. So what I'm doing is I'm storing that in Bitcoin instead and assuming that the price goes up to what I think it's going to be. Again, this all depends on what you think yourself, what part of the cycle you're in right now. I think that 2025 and 2026 are still going to be mind blowing for Bitcoin's price. That's why I'm doing this strategy here. But it's the same kind of thing is you really have to manage your Bitcoin versus fiat. And that's kind of what Rajat talked about as being a con.
Yeah, and I kind of like reverse engineer it because the reason I keep the cash, even though it's a opportunity cost that if I had the couple whatever dollars I had, I could put it into Bitcoin and make it. But I'm almost thinking like, well, if I don't have the cash and an emergency comes up, then I have to sell my Bitcoin, and then I'm
Yep.
never
And
going to get
I'm
it back.
prepared for that.
Yeah, and I'm never going to get it back at the price that I sell it at. So I can just have because I already had some cash anyways. So I just but it's been dwindling down because I did when a big dip comes or whatever. But I'm just like, man, I just don't want to sell. And I'm talking about selling in a big chunk. Like,
Yeah.
you got to sell your Bitcoin. I'm talking about a couple of grand. I'd rather not do that if I had to, because again, in a couple of months, it's going to be very hard to get that back. Because again, we say when you sell your Bitcoin, you're never going to get the same amount. So that's all I'm doing.
Yep.
One other thing that I wanted to mention. So I saw a comment from Gregory. I just used 1,000 Bitcoin as an example because if you have 1,000 Bitcoin, then you have enough money to not worry about your day-to-day bills, right?
We got the whale.
If you have not even close, if you have like 0.1 Bitcoin, if you have 0.1 Bitcoin, then today you can't use that money to pay your bills, right? That's not going to be enough. You need to wait. You need to either wait or you need to increase your income and make sure you can stack more. I think regardless of everything that we're talking about is great, but I think the best thing you can do is just increase your income. Create something of value that you can
100%.
sell, right? You just create something of value that you can keep selling to people, and those people can extract value from it while you extract value
Yes.
from that sale. And that way you don't have to worry about it, right? Even if you run out of fiat, you're gonna get your next
making more.
paycheck next week, right? You're gonna
Yep.
get your paycheck next month, right? It's gonna be there. So that I think that's the best way to go. Instead of really worrying too much about your allocations, make sure you have some Bitcoin and make sure you have your income. Your income is the most powerful thing.
Yes.
100%. Jerry, what's your biggest con with Bitcoin?
Well, right now in 2025, I don't really have any cons, but in 2025, if I had to pick one, the one that kind of keeps me up at night is security.
Security.
Yeah, it's a little bit it's personal obviously and it's difficult because it's like, okay, when you first get in, what do they tell you? Not your keys, not your coins. Take it off the exchange, right? You got to take it off the exchange. So you have to buy you know, a device, and you're like, okay, which one should I buy? Because there's different choices. Should I buy this one, Bitcoin only? Like when I first got in, I got a Ledger. Then I got that's not good enough. So I got a Trezor. Now, I'm not saying these are bad or good. I'm just telling you. Then I moved up to a cold card, right? Then when you get a cold card, like, oh, well, you got to do multi-sig. You're like, oh, okay. I mean, I thought, all right. Then you get multi-sig. Oh, you got to do super backed. You're like, super backed? Am I Superman? What is this here? Right? So it just keeps going. And I just think, and I'm not knocking anything, it's very difficult for people to do that because that's gonna, it's gonna cost something to do that, right? You got to buy it. It's just like when I'm looking at a cold card or something and it's however many Satoshis with the opportunity cost, of course you have to buy it. You have to, but it's just like, oh my God, you know? And a lot of people don't want to do it. Again, Jordan does a great job with his team, but it's just like you got to keep building up and building up. And again, it's not really a con, but if I had to pick one, it'd be the security right now.
It is. And I think kind of my point to that, Jerry, would be like, I think it's also the messaging around it, right? Because when people start learning about Bitcoin, they start watching YouTube channels, they start reading different things, and they hear Bitcoiners saying, not your keys, not your coins. And they're like, well, I need to rush this now. I need to get a cold card. I need to do all this stuff today. Otherwise, my Bitcoin's going to be gone. When in reality, you could use something like River. You could use something like ShakePay. You could use something, basically anything other than Coinbase, and just hold that Bitcoin on there for a little while, 6 months to a year, and then make actionable steps. And I think just having the understanding of knowing that your security is always going to be evolving, always, because it's going to become more valuable. And as it becomes more valuable, you have to layer things on top of that. Plus, there's going to be different attack vectors that weren't here 5 years ago. There's going to be new technologies that are somewhat threats to Bitcoin. And you have to be ready for evolving. I mean, you could, if you just wanted to bury it in your backyard, there's also trade-offs with that too. But you should just be prepared to always be evolving with security and taking it very slow, doing things very low risk. And I think that you're not going to regret overspending on your security for Bitcoin. That's what I would say. You're never going to regret that. It sucks at the start, but to have it in a good spot and you're sleeping better at night, your stress is down, you can't put a price on that, in my opinion.
Yes.
Definitely worth it.
Both good answers, boys. I think my biggest con in Bitcoin, and this is something I wouldn't say I think a lot about, but I'm always questioning things. I'm always questioning, should I be doing this? Is this the right thing? Is there any holes in Bitcoin? So this is something I'm fairly familiar with myself. But like for me, the biggest con that I have is that even though I've spent, say, 5 years, 10 hours a day in Bitcoin, I still feel like, we talked about it before. Like, am I getting rugged here? Is this just like the greatest psyop of all time? But the reason for that is because I haven't verified the code myself. There's all these different things that are open source and verifiable code, and I can't do that myself. And so for somebody like me who's not technical like that, I have to lean on a couple different things. One of those things would be body language. One of those things would be tone of voice. And one of those things would be their logic, their common sense. How do they think through things? And so that's pretty much what I have to rely on when I'm finding people within Bitcoin that I can trust. And then that kind of leads me down different roads of other trust. But I don't like the fact that I'm not competent enough to know if this thing is exactly what I think it is, if it's as robust as I think it is. I know that there's people who have reviewed it. I've just never talked to them in person before. So that's the kind of scary thing for me. It's a very small concern, but it's still something that it's like, just because I can't verify it myself, it is something that I think is a con for me.
Nice.
Do you guys think about that at all, or no? How do you approach that?
No, but
No?
something to akin to that. No, because something to akin to that. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but something akin to that is the little storage space wars right now. That is kind of a con with the with the spam on the blockchain or whatever. With the stuff with the Start Nine boys, not the Start Nine, the Bitcoin Core stuff.
Right.
I mean, I guess that's kind of a con or whatever because again, they're trying to do this and that. So that's the kind of stuff I kind of worry about a little bit.
That's fair.
So sorry, Jor, was yours that you can't trust the people that are within Bitcoin? Is that like similar to what can you just give
No,
like
my thing is like I'm putting all of my life's energy into this Bitcoin thing, and I'm basically relying on other people telling me that this thing is secure, fully secure.
right? Oh, because is it because I mean I don't have a coding background or anything like a computer science background or anything. Is it because of that?
That's
'Cause
what I
can't-
mean.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about that, Rajat? I've never looked at it that way.
I do, but the way that I see it, as I think it's widespread enough, and there are probably enough good actors in this space that if something did come up like that, they would probably say, right, like let's say for example, we have our Bitcoin on our wallets. I can't read the code, but in the time that I've had my Bitcoin in the wallet, it hasn't disappeared. Right? I mean, who knows? Maybe that'll happen in 20 years, but by then maybe there'll be better wallets and there'll be more people looking at it. They'll have their eyeballs on the code on the network, and they'll know whether something crazy is going on. Right. And I think that would be public immediately. Like with Ledger, right? People accuse them of scamming people all the time.
I agree. And that's why it's just such a small concern for me. But it's still just the fact that I don't know enough to know like how this whole thing works. Like I have a
Yeah.
pretty good understanding of it, but like I don't read code, so I don't know
Right.
exactly how secure and robust this network really is. So I completely agree with both you guys there, Rajat, especially. It's like, yes, there's very intelligent people in here, and that's kind of what I was alluding to in terms of like reading people and hearing what they say, because there are people obviously who have reviewed this thing. And so when I look at them, I listen for their tone, their body language, their logic on things, and that's kind of my gauge on whether this thing is I can trust this person or not. But yeah, I want to end with this one because sorry, Jared, do you have something to say there?
Yeah, just real quick. When I first got in, I was like you, Jordan, not to the extent that you're saying it, but a little different. I was always taught if something's too good to be true, it's not true. And so I was just looking and looking and
Yes.
looking. And I'm just like, what the, like, trying to find the holes in it. Like, this thing is, I don't want to say perfect, but it's like, what is wrong? Like, there's nothing wrong. So that was a con for me for a long time. And it stopped me from putting all my precious metals and all my money into it. Not anymore, though.
And so maybe that's like a con in itself is it takes so much time for somebody to get to that understanding where they have the conviction to allocate more into it. And by the time they get there, they've missed out on a lot of life-changing sats. Okay, so I want to ask one more question here. It's from Patricio. So I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to think about this. But I want to give a couple shout outs here. So we had a 3,000 sat zap from a beautiful soul out there in the world. Somebody sent in 3,000 sats, 300, 555 from the Purple Trader. So they sent a little message there. So thank you, Purple Trader. And 1111, the Live Free zap, 1,111 sats. So again, we're kind of winding down the show here. We got one more question to answer. And if you do feel like sending any sats into the channel, you can send it to the QR code beside Jerry's head or type it in Maple Bitcoin at coinos.io. So unfortunately, we couldn't get to all the comments today. There's just way too many. And again, if you want to prioritize just like the mempool, you can send a zap, you can send a super chat. That'll guarantee that we address it. But other than that, I mean, we're doing this out of the goodness of our hearts, and we unfortunately can't be here for 5 hours to address all the questions here. So what do you guys think about this? Because we are all YouTubers. We're all have our own channels here. What do you guys think about this? Patricio says, I'm a Mexican living in Toronto. I've been learning a lot about Bitcoin. I want to create my channel in Spanish to help my country understand Bitcoin the way you do. Any tips?
I made an entire video on this on my channel. If you want to go look, I think it's called something like the easiest way to make money on the internet or something like that. If you just look through my videos, you'll find it. But I mean, it's all about consistency, at least in my opinion. In the beginning, you're gonna suck, right? If you haven't made videos yet, you're gonna be terrible. If you go back to my first few videos, they are so bad. Like they're so bad. I cringe watching them. But now I feel like I've gotten better. Of course, there's a lot of room to improve, but over time, it's just consistency, right? In the beginning, the number of reps that you put in is what's going to show you your results. So if you put in 1 rep a month, you're probably not going to do very well. But if you make a video every single day or a video every couple of days, every 3-4 days, you're going to learn a lot quicker, and you're going to be able to reach out to an audience. And you're going to be able to build an audience much sooner. But if you keep putting it off, you keep thinking about, oh, how do I start? It's like just the theory versus application. If you don't apply it, no matter what you learn theory wise is going to make a difference.
Well said, sir. Yeah, I definitely think you should do it. Do it sooner than later. We
Yeah.
need more people out here doing it. What I suggest is this: don't look at it as like a YouTube channel. It is a YouTube channel, obviously, but the first thing you want to do is you want to figure out who your audience is and who you're talking to, and also, again, that's tough to do sometimes. But what you want to do, and this is what I try to do, anyways. Like whatever you're good at, your God given talents or gifts, use those, right? So, we're sitting in front of a camera and we're talking and stuff, and all three of us are pretty good talkers, and we know about finance and stuff like that. I have a finance background too, so we can do those things. But if you're not one of those people that talking comes easy to, then show people what you do. Again, it's not about being the best at what you do, it's about doing what you do best, right? That's what it's about. So when you're out here doing what you're doing best, meaning going to your job or your business or whatever you're doing, show them how Bitcoin has changed your life. Show them what you do out here just as a regular person, how you're trying to earn more, working extra, working your side jobs or whatever, and then how you learned about Bitcoin in the process, right? But go out and do what's natural to you. Don't try to step out and be somebody that you're not, and you don't have to be the best. So go out there, figure out who your target audience is, do what you do best, and be consistent. That's what I would say.
Very well said.
Consistency is the key there. And I think that if you look at all three of our channels, this isn't something that we're just sitting up here telling other people to do. Every day for the last couple years between the three of us, it's been every day. Even when we don't feel like doing a video, post the video. You're always thinking about things that way. And so the first thing I would say to Patricio here is just start. Like these guys both said, just start. When I first started my channel, I was going to wait a couple months. I was going to get everything perfect. I was going to practice. I was going to have a huge list of ideas so I never ran out of things to talk about. And then I was like, you know what? I'm doing it tomorrow. And I did. And I've been doing it every day since then. And you think you're going to run out of things to talk about, but within Bitcoin, within the truths of the world, within all these different things, health, it touches on everything here. So just start. But I mean, you could take some of our videos and you could use an AI program and actually share some of our videos. Like I wouldn't have any issues with you sharing my videos translated into Spanish to help people that way. So you post one of my videos, and then you post one of Jerry's videos, and then you post one of Rajat's videos, and then you post one of your own. Or maybe you react to the videos along the way. Jerry does this all the time on his channel. So you can use things already, and you can just kind of build on top of it. You don't have to recreate the wheel with anything. You just have to start doing it, and you find what works. I mean, we could probably spend an hour conversation on like the things that work and don't work, and how to do things a little bit better, but we don't have time for that. So that's what I would say is just start. And this applies to Patricio out there, and it applies to every single person who's kind of in the same spot right now is just start talking about it, because it is up to us. Everything here, Bitcoin is the best technology, the best tool, the best battery that has ever existed in human history before. But it's up to us to explain that to people and to grow this network and to make sure that our friends and family and loved ones aren't going to be left on the Titanic as this system goes down. So do not sleep on this. Do not hoard your Bitcoin. Make sure you're spending your sats wherever possible. Spend or replace. Teach as many people. Talk about this stuff, because this thing isn't going to work if we're very secretive and private and worried about it. This thing has to become mainstream, because the system that we have, as Jerry likes to say, is broken. The can has been kicked down the road for too long now, and it's time for a new system, and that system is Bitcoin. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Do you guys have any closing thoughts here before we hit the trail?
Yeah, I want to say thank you guys so much for having me. I really, really appreciate that. And for you guys to pick a guy that's not from Canada, and for you guys to have me up here is an absolute honor. I really appreciate that. That's proof of work right there. That's because, again, for the people that want to make a YouTube channel, I'm just a regular guy, man. But I just make a bunch of YouTube videos, and because I did that, they chose me to come up here. And so you just got to work.
Guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, you be around them, you'll see that they're not. But especially at a Bitcoin conference. But I appreciate that. Shout out to Forrest. Congratulations on your new baby. And Forrest, these are big shoes to fill, and you do great work too, man. And thank you guys so much, Jor and Rajat, and everybody watching, and for all the zaps and things. Thank you guys so much, and remember to stay focused and keep stacking.
We had the same idea there, Rajat. So there's
Oh, yeah.
Jerry's channel right there. We're going to have that in the show notes. We're going to have the link to Bitcoin Well. We're going to have the link to ShakePay, a few other links in there. And of course, the one to Jerry Loves Freedom. And I'll put Maddie's in there as well. And I saw Otis in the chat. We got to support our fellow Bitcoin channels.
Otis.
Jerry does a great job of that. And there he is right there. Speaking of Otis. So we'll put some comments or some links in the pinned comment and in the show notes if you're watching this later. And yeah, Rajat, any final words?
No, we're good. I think
Buy
that was great.
Bitcoin?
That was so useful. Just buy Bitcoin. Stay
I agree.
focused. Stay focused and stack Bitcoin relentlessly.
Great advice. And I think that going off of that, Rajat, consider, I think that the one benefit that we have, we might not be the most intelligent or technically knowledgeable people within Bitcoin, but I think we are very relatable. And so if you do have any friends or family members who are thinking about getting into Bitcoin, they're kind of close to crossing the road into the Bitcoin world, send them this live and let them watch it, answer any questions that they have. And, I think we talk about things in a very down to earth and relatable way that most people, even dummies like us, can understand. So thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Rajat. Jerry, can you I know give you a little warm up for your show today, but can you close out the show here today with your famous closeout?
Oh, sure.
I'm
Sure.
used to putting you on the spot now. You should.
Yeah. Sure. Listen, guys, at the end of the day, we know that the system is broken. It is. And unfortunately, the debt, Trump is trying to do his thing and everything else, but he got elected. He tried to do some things, but he's in a broken system. It's just broken. And there's nothing we can do about that. We're a debtor nation. We owe a lot of money. We spend way more than we print. I'm talking to Canadians now, right? I'm talking like I'm American.
You're talking to the world, baby.
Yeah, the world. So everybody does that. So we have to use a new system to break and finish off this old system because it's broken and it's stealing from us. Because again, when you print money, they are breaking the laws of thermodynamics. Because thermodynamics says what? You can't create or destroy energy, and they're doing that every single day. And there's one energy that cannot be destroyed, and I think we know that. And it's the best money in the world, and it's the new can. Because the old can needs to be kicked off a cliff, and we need to use this new can. And I don't know if you guys know it or not, because you guys probably haven't watched my video. So here's a little hint: it's the best way to save, and for me, the only way to save, and for us, the only way to save, and that's Bitcoin. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Rajat. We'll see you next week, same time.